11th chapter. And what verse are we on, Mark?
19.
19. So let's review quickly the major idea that we need to know about this. We have to understand that the 11th chapter, which many people can see as, oh, this is so fantastic, visions, I want to have visions, you know. Is this like taking mushrooms or LSD? I'm seeing the cosmic form. No, this is poetry. This is mystic symbolism, and it implies a practice. So what is it that's at the heart of this? In Vedanta, in Jnana Yoga, we deal with three questions. Koham, who am I? We've dealt with a lot of that in the first 6 chapters. What is this world? And 3, how has it come about? So this is the Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga. This is the yoga of the vision of the divine form. That's how it's translated. Vishwarupa. Vishwa means the waking state. Vishwa means our awareness of the phenomenal world. So to have the true vision of what is this material world. And so to set up the dialogue, Arjuna says, Sakatumi. Krishna goes and opens his jnana chakshu, his eye of wisdom, so that he is able to see the self in and through all the objects of the world. All right, let's start off with our scripture. Can you help us out, Deepa?
Yeah, bringing it up.
And remember, I think we're still in that double meter.
Yes, and I've forgotten the tune, so I'm going to try my best.
Da 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 da.
Okay. Anadi Madhyanta Mananta Viryam Ananta Bahum Shashi Surya Netram Pashyami Tvam Deepta Hutasha Vaktram Swatejasa Vishwamidam Tapantam. I see you without beginning, middle, or end, infinite in power, of endless arms, the sun and moon being your eyes, the burning fire your mouth, heating the whole universe with your radiance.
So again, this is mystic symbolism. So the way to understand this, we have Lord Shiva, ever wedded to his Shakti. We have Nirguna Brahman. We have the self, consciousness, Krishna, as the immovable, the beginningless, the endless, the changeless, the formless, eternal subject. And then out of that waves all phenomena, Shakti, energy. And from that, everything is formed. Best way to understand this is to go to the dream state. You are the God of your dream state. So who sees the dream? I do. But in my dream, I have a dream body, which becomes a locus of perception for the dream ego. I'm there peeping out of my dream senses at a dream world. And I have objects outside, name and form, thoughts and feelings inside. But they, in fact, are nothing but my mind appearing as all those elements of the dream. Now, macrocosmically, this is a very important question. Where is the locus of Maya? We oftentimes translate Maya as illusion, delusion. It's more than that. Maya is the word we use to describe how the impossible seems to be possible. How is it that consciousness, which is one without a second, which never moves, which is kutusta, still, standing, apparently has within it this world of name and form? Nobody can answer that. It just does. So, practically speaking, I cognize stuff. I see a world of objects. I see a world of emotions. I see a world of thoughts. I'm aware of my body, my mind, my intellect. I have the appearance of a perceiver, feeler, thinker, entity, and ego. But all of that is consciousness appearing as name and form. And there's a very famous Zen proverb. Before enlightenment, I chopped wood and carried water. After enlightenment, I chopped wood and carried water. Something doesn't change, but my perception, my understanding changes profoundly. So when you and I see with this eye of wisdom, it still rains. Cars still go up and down Grand Avenue. I still have to do the dishes and the laundry. But my understanding of it is profound, different. Listen carefully. Maya is co-eternal with the self. Even to the point when this particular creation is finished and it all goes back to nothing, another one. Yoga posits a circular movement of time within the phenomenal world. So not only is the ground of being eternal, but Maya herself is eternal. None of the forms in Maya are eternal. They all change. But Maya herself is eternal. Now, wait a minute. I thought we were talking about crossing over Maya. The Upanishads say, who crosses over? Who truly crosses over Maya? Does that mean we get rid of Maya? Gone for good? No. Each one of us as an individual can cross over Maya, meaning we see the world as it truly is. We're very clear about what it is not. But it keeps going on. So it too is beginningless and endless. That's the first idea. What's the next idea, Deepa?
Sorry, I turned to verse 20. You are the imperishable, the supreme being, worthy to be known.
Yes. So, not only is Krishna the ground of being, but also the imperishable stuff of this world, worthy to be known. What do we mean by that? Right where the trouble seems to be in my life, there God is. If I can dial down my reactivity, if I can let go of my compulsion to manage, control, manipulate, change, be in the now. Every person I look at, the being looking out of those eyes is Krishna. What seems to be name, form, good, bad, virtuous, vicious, it's all the play of Krishna. It's all going to be okay. It's all going to work out. Next idea.
You are the great treasure house of this universe.
Yes. Okay. When we think of a treasure, that's something that's valuable. Oh, I'm going to go to pirate treasure and I'm going to get lots of money. The pearl of great price, the treasure. But here, the subtler meaning is this. The treasure of this world is the happiness I experience when I get something beautiful or valuable or what I want. Went to a concert this afternoon, heard Jonas Kaufmann, my favorite operatic tenor. My God, is he good. I was happy, appreciating beauty. There were incredible moments of transcendence in that house. So let's review what really happens. Other people, you would hear an opera singer, ugh, that sounds like boring. And it was all in German. We each have our own tastes. Point is, what we desire may differ from person to person, but whatever it is that we desire. Am I still online?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, okay, all of a sudden everybody disappeared. I can see my own face.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Anyway, the whole point I'm saying is that when we get what we want, we experience what I call the point of pleasure. Object of desire, when desire and object of desire become one, point of pleasure. So it can be the Rolling Stones, it could be Jonas Kaufmann, it could be industrial, it can be money, it can be a new house, it can be a boyfriend or a girlfriend or getting rid of the boyfriend and the girlfriend. It can be a promotion at work, it can be a new car. But the treasure I seek is actually not the thing itself, it's the happiness that it provides. What yoga says is those moments of pleasure, they're technically called the Anandamaya Kosha. It's a taste of the bliss sheath. In my ignorance, I do not know this, but actually, I'm getting a taste of my own self-nature. Yoga says, why not learn how to go there without the need of the media of this world? I'm going to get the car, I'll be happy. Get rid of the car. I mean, you don't have to actually get rid of the car, but drop the car. Just go for the happiness. And that in the end is myself. So the yogi learns to experience a non-mediated joy, an immediate happiness by letting go of the world. So the great treasure house of this world is Krishna. Meaning, what is it that everybody's really seeking? From the moment we get up in the morning to the moment our head hits the pillow at night, we're really only doing one thing: seeking the good as we understand good and avoiding misery. The only real question is, what is good? Where is good? And what we're looking for in the end, we're looking with. It's my very self. Next idea.
You are the imperishable protector of the eternal Dharma.
Yes. So the Dharma of a human being is God consciousness. That means that the self is self-evident, it knows itself, but it also means that there's an impulse in every human bosom. I call it the divine discontent that's moving us towards the infinite. Everybody in the end is only seeking God. They just don't know it. And they're doing it by very inefficient methods. This Dharma ultimately expresses itself in the human psyche by my desire for happiness, my desire for the good. What I really desire is the self. Just don't know it. And that impulse will keep driving me. I'll get all the things of the world, and they're okay, but they don't last. I never deliver what I thought they would. Where can I find something enduring? Finally, you start the spiritual path deliberately. Well, they're fallen yogis, people who get off the path. In the end, no. You deviate too far from the quest for your self-nature, your very suffering will bring you back. Next idea.
In my opinion, you are the ancient Purusha.
So this word Purusha comes from the Rig Veda, the cosmic person, also means spirit. In the Sankhya philosophy, it is the spiritual dimension of the universe, the spiritual dimension of each one of us. So Lord Krishna is the Purusha, which is Atman, which is Brahman. Those all the pieces?
Yes.
Next verse.
Okay. We're on verse 20. Dhyava prithivyoridhamantaram hi vyaptam tvayekena dishascha sarva drishtavadbhutam rupamukram tavedam lokatrayam pravyathitam mahatmana. This space between earth and the heavens and all the quarters is filled by you alone. Having seen this, your wonderful and terrible form, the three worlds are trembling with fear, O great souled being.
So what he's talking about now is the pervasiveness of consciousness. Best way to understand it is to compare it with physical space. So there's room space and there's cup space. I call it cup space. Likewise, we can say there is God, the transcendent. Then there's me inside. Inside my body is me. Now, there's space outside, space inside. Now watch. Did I move the space? I moved the cup. Might have moved the air. What's the relationship between cup space and room space? Space pervades everything. So it seems like the self is inside my body someplace, or maybe inside my head. No. Your equipment is in consciousness. Just like it feels like I'm in the dream body, peeping out at a dream world. But do you incarnate into a dream? Are you stuck inside the dream body? Are you in the dream, or is the dream in you? You pervade the dream. Consciousness pervades all this. It pervades your body, mind, and intellect, and illumines your evening. When you walk around, you're not carrying the self with you. You are moving in consciousness. It's in another dimension. Whole world is pervaded by being, by consciousness. Next idea.
The space between the earth and the heavens and all the quarters is filled by you alone. Having seen this, your wonderful and terrible form, the three worlds are trembling with fear, O great souled being.
Now, this is subtle stuff. In our ignorance, we find ourselves frightened by the various manifestations of power in the world. If you look at old religions, for example, in Europe, we had all the various gods, and you had to propitiate the gods because they were pretty nasty people. You know, better not screw up or Zeus is just going to go whack, zap you. A lot of us, even in Hinduism, have fear. I had someone whose partner suffered an accident, and they asked me, "Oh, are we being punished?" We have these ideas. But I tell you, there's nothing really to fear. Am I afraid of financial insecurity? Am I afraid of dying? Am I afraid of growing old? Am I afraid of being alone? It's a value to look at. What am I afraid of? And it's stuff perceived by the senses. It's stuff in this world. And the truth is, first of all, nothing ever touches you. And in terms of this phenomenal world, it's all going to work out because God's in charge. Yet, people in ignorance are free. If we look to our own experience, self-centered fear is the chief activator of our kleshas, our afflictions, our doshas, our defects of character. And the mnemonic that I like, FEAR, false evidence appearing real. Most of the time, what I'm afraid of is not now. Some catastrophizing event in the future. It's not real. Instead, face everything and realize. Much better. Next verse. Did we get all the pieces of that one?
Yes.
Okay.
Verse 21. Ami hi tvam surasangha vishanti kechid pita pranjalayo grinanti swasti tyuktva maharshi siddha sangha stuvanti tvam suttibhi pushkalabhi. Verily into you enter these hosts of devas. Some extol you in fear with joined palms. May it be well, thus saying, bands of rishis and siddhas praise you with hymns sublime.
So, Krishna is the eternal fire into which everything goes to be burned up. Krishna is the grinder. Everything goes in, grind up. He's the cosmic shredder. So foolish people who are identified with forms fear destruction, not just death of the body, but the destruction of the things in my life. Everything ends. Everything. So I get upset about it. The devas here, meaning the celestial beings, but more importantly, all the various presiding principles over the fields of human endeavor, they're all going to end. I don't think anybody spends a lot of time anymore being an apprentice buggy whip manufacturer. Gone. I don't think there are any city employees anymore who are in charge of the municipal stables for the horses. Gone. The entire industry for making tubes for radios. Gone. How many computer languages have you had to learn over the years? Those of you who are computer programmers. Gone. And even our understanding of science, because they were rishis, are the first scientists. So much of what we knew, as time moves on, we say, well, that was only a partial understanding. Gone. Everything goes. So a wise person can hold on. When I was at the concert this afternoon, he did a few pieces that I used to sing when I was young and my voice was in shape. Could I sing them now? No. Fun. Well, I worked really hard. Could I get my voice back in shape? Jim, you're 73. Gone. Everything about our lives will go into the dust heap of time. Cherish, appreciate, let go. What about our democracy, Jim? May not go now, but it will go at some point. Because it's a created form. Everything. Next verse.
Turn verse 22. Rudraditya vasavo ye cha sadhya vishveshviyo vino marutaschoshmapascha gandharva yaksha surasiddha sangha bhikshante tvam vismitaschaiva sarve. The Rudras, Adityas, Vasus, Sadhyas, Vishve Devas, the two Ashwins, Maruts, Ushmapas, and hosts of Gandharvas, Yakshas, Asuras, and Siddhas, they are all looking at you, all quite astonished.
So all these various mythological characters we have in our scriptures, They look at the cosmic form, and if they penetrate into an understanding, it's all consciousness. It's all temporary. And that vision stupefies the mind, astonishes. Now, all these various celestial beings are actually dimensions of the human mind. They're dimensions of our own consciousness. And what we're getting at here is this incredible need of the ego to hold on and try to concretize and make permanent whatever I've got. And that can be negative as well as positive. You may have some trauma from childhood. You're identified with it. I'm a sexually abused child. Or I was beaten by my parents. And we hold on to it, hold on to it, hold on to it. Long gone, these people are dead. We grip that stuff. Oh, I've got a great team at work. Everybody's so groovy. And all of a sudden, it changes. Wait, I don't want it to. Too bad. Let it go. Go with the flow. Float on the surface of the great river of life. Next verse.
So the next verse, the next two verses are together and they're
All
both
right.
long. So just a second. Rupam mahatte vaktra netram mahabaho bahu rupadam bahudaram bahudrishtra karalam drishtva loka pravyathitas Nabha sprusham deepta maneka varnam vyattananam deepta vishala netram drishtva hitvam pravyathitantaratma dhritim navindami shamam cha Vishnu. Having seen your immeasurable form, with many mouths and eyes, O mighty armed, with many arms, thighs, and feet, with many stomachs and fearsome with many tusks. The worlds are terrified, and so too am I.
Yes.
On
So,
on seeing you with your form touching the sky, flaming in many colors, with mouths wide open, with large fiery eyes, I am terrified at heart, and I find neither courage nor peace, O Vishnu.
So he calls him O Vishnu, the great God, the preserver. So what are these eyes and mouths and stomachs and thighs and tusks? Meaning every single creature, the life principle of everything, the very existence of everyone and everything is Krishna, is consciousness. And here Arjuna actually perceives this great movement of cosmic time, where suns burn out, where galaxies are eaten by a black hole. Everything ends. People are shocked by the statistic. 99% of all species that have occurred on the planet Earth are extinct. I mean, it's going to be you and me too. Great, powerful is the Maya Shakti of the infinite. Always there, of infinite power. Always uncreating and recreating everything. Nothing endures, wiped out. New things arise. So each of us with our little 70, 80, 90 years, it's not a rehearsal. This is it. Spend yourself in love. Don't waste your time. Because in a blink of an eye, it'll be over. Next verse.
We're in verse 25. Tamstra karalani chate mukhani drishtvaiva kalana lasannibhani disho na jane na labhe cha sharma prasida devesha jagannivasa. Having seen your mouths fearsome with tusks blazing like pralaya fires, I know not the four quarters, nor do I find peace. Be gracious, O Lord of the Devas, O abode of the universe.
So because Arjuna is attached to his ego, he is terrified as he faces the destruction of his small self, terrified at the destruction of his own body, mind, and intellect, terrified at the destruction of everyone and everything he's ever loved and held dear. Practically speaking, in meditation, as the ego starts to thin, you may feel like you're dying. You may feel like the whole world, you're like is huge vertigo and you're nowhere. People frequently at that point will like grab the mind and open your eyes, come back, be solid, because it's scary. And what the scripture says here is don't worry. Let go. Let go. I feel like I'm going to go mad, Jim. So what? Nothing is going to harm you. Even dying is safe. because you are birthless, changeless, deathless, the essence of peace, essence of bliss, untouched by the world. But the ego, if we think we are our bodies, we're pretty scared by the world. A lot of frightened people out there. False evidence appearing real. What do we usually do if we're in the state of fear? Fuck everything and run. Next verse.
The next two verses are together.
Okay.
Ami chatvam dhritarashtrasya putra sarve saheva vinipala sanghe bhishmo drona putrastasthaso sahasmadiyerapi yodha mukhye vaktrani te tvaramana vishanti dramshtra karalani bhayanakani kechid dvilagna dashanantareshu samdrishyante churniteruttamange. All the sons of Dhritarashtra, with hosts of kings of the earth, Bhishma, Drona, and the son of a charioteer Karna, with the warrior chieftains of ours, into your mouths, with terrible teeth and fearful to behold, they precipitately enter. Some are found sticking in the gaps between the teeth with their heads crushed into pulp.
So, this war that he's going to fight, are only the Kauravas going to get wiped out? Oops, no. Even the Pandavas are going to get wiped out. Everybody dies. In Christianity, we have a very famous story of the raising of Lazarus from the dead. Krishna goes to the temple and he's to the tomb and he says, "Lazarus, come out." And Lazarus comes out all wrapped in his burial cloths and things like that. What people don't realize is even with a miracle like that, poor Lazarus had to die again. He does not live in Berkeley or Emeryville. He's dead. It's interesting. I love to, at the end of Piedmont, you go in, there's those beautiful graveyards, beautifully tailored lawns, and you see these really cool mausoleums. Obviously, someone is taking time and money to care for these graves. Maybe it's their parents, maybe a spouse, maybe grandparents. It might be a family mausoleum with great grandparents. But if you go up the hill and over to the other side, there are graves from the 1800s. And most are untended. Some of them are knocked down, and there's weeds growing. These people were loved at one point. They too had children and spouses and parents and siblings. but no one even remembers them now. Gone. The people we think are so important. Babaji always used to say, graveyards are filled with indispensable people. I had a student come and he'd been reading some yoga literature about the Himalayan yogis who had lived for 400 years. He said, oh, I want to do that. And I said, really? What happens at year 401? They're dead. Just as dead as someone who lives 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 years. They live for a long time. This is not meant to depress us. It's paradoxical. Back in the mid-80s, my roommate, Perry George, rest his soul, was one of the people diagnosed with AIDS. He was diagnosed with AIDS in 1986. And we had been friends and roommates since 78. And he was going through a pretty deep period of depression before his diagnosis. And it was paradoxical. You'd think he'd freak out and, oh, but he intuitively was a really good yogi. Because in those days, you had 6 months to 2.5 years, and then you're dead. So he quit postponing his life. He didn't want to lie in bed and be depressed. He finally took the cruise that he'd always threatened to do. He finally gave the recital that he always thought he'd like to do. He was a singer. He finally got the couch recovered that he'd always threatened to do. He did so many of the things that he had postponed, as we are prone to do if we think we are immortal. Because he knew he didn't have much time. And what was so paradoxical, once he got a terminal diagnosis, he was more alive than I'd ever seen him in the years I've known him. So the gift of knowing how tenuous life is and everything else, cherish it. If you have a fight with your partner, don't stay at loggerheads for weeks or months. One of you could die. Reconcile. Love the people around you. Because we're all going to end up stuck in Krishna's deep. Both sides of every battle. Kauravas and the Pandavas. Next one.
Here in verse 28. Yatha nadinam bahavomvuvega samudrameva bhimukha dravanti tatha tavami naralokavira vishanti vaktranya bhivijwalanti. Verily, as many torrents of rivers flow towards the ocean, so these heroes in the world of men enter your flaming mouths.
Yes. So just as there's lots of layers to this, just as the rivers enter the ocean, it starts as a little brook, a rushing stream in the mountains, but in the end is a wide expanse merging with the ocean. So also everyone, every situation, everything enters into the destructive fire of dying. Now, a deeper understanding. Just as every river inevitably empties into the ocean, so also every individual's soul is coming home to God. No one fails. No one's left out. They take lifetimes. But all coming home. One of my favorite sayings of Ram Das, something he said towards the end of his life. Someone asked him, "What's the purpose of life?" And he said, "We're here to walk one another home." Just love that. I am here to love you. You home to the Lord. And you are here to walk me home and one another. So funny. Swamiji was probably the most important person in my whole life. I was 27 when I met him. Now, those of us who knew him in the body are getting fewer and fewer. Vast majority of people in the Chinmaya mission never actually met him. In another 10 years, he'll be a historical figure. That's it. Next verse.
In verse 29. Yatha pradiptam jwalanam patanga vishanti nashaya samudhavega tatheva nashaya vishanti loka stavapi vaktrani samudhavega. As moths rush hurriedly into a blazing fire for their own destruction, so also these creatures hastily rush into your mouths of destruction.
So we've all seen in our modern era that if it's a warm night and there's moths and you have lights outside, the moths will gather to the lights. in ancient time, or if you've ever gone camping, you build a fire. The light attracts the moths. But if it's a fire, what happens? They fly towards the fire and all burn up. That's what you and I are doing. Rushing headlong. My friend Susan was telling me about a friend of hers. I think she was in her late 70s and she had cancer. My friend Susan was caring for her. And she turned to Susan and said, I just can't believe it's almost over. I had another friend who had a grandmother whose 90th birthday. And she says, how old? She was an assistant living. How old am I? Grandma, you're 90. She says, 90? I'm almost dead. Laugh. But I tell you, a human life is incredibly short. Treasure it. Don't take it for granted. Don't spend your time in the foolishness of self-pity. Love one another. Serve one another. Try to make our world a little bit better because you were here. Most importantly, come home to God. The body is essentially an instrument for self-realization. All right, one more, and then we'll quit.
So we're on verse 30. Leli hyase grasamana samantat lokan samagran vadaner jwalanpi tejo bhirapurya jagat samagram vasastavogra pratapanti Vishnu. Devouring all worlds on every side with your flaming mouths, you are licking in enjoyment. Your fierce rays, filling the whole world with radiance, are burning, O Vishnu.
So, one of the words we have to describe this world is Leela. It's actually also a common name for women. Leela means play or sport. One of the things that was so amazing about Swamiji, he found life delightful and funny. And he sported with it. One of the things we frequently see in women and men of knowledge is there's a childlike ability for play. None of the seriousness with which most of us move through life. So Krishna sports even through this world. It's divine Leela. It's play. But the invitation is for us. Don't take it so seriously. Swami Teja Mayananda used to say, The foolish person doesn't take life seriously. The intelligent person takes life seriously. But the wise person seriously doesn't take life seriously. Sport with it. Take a risk. If it's successful, glory to God. If it's a failure, egg on God's face. Do your best, let go of the rest. Don't be attached to results. The results belong to Krishna. I am the karma paladata. I am the giver of the fruits of action. All we get is the opportunity to work and serve. That we get a plenty. That we get a plenty. All right, we'll stop here tonight. Any questions, thoughts? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vishishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. Om.